Hello and welcome back to the HSE Meta State Finals. If you're picking up from where we left off last week, we've made our way across the country to see who reigns supreme in the Western Australian region. Today, I will have the pleasure of viewing Rossmoyne Senior versus Rossmoyne Senior High School, or Da Baby up against P, MSI or MS, Miss, whatever decides to work in that scenario. Mandrix is joining me to help break down all of the action. Making his debut in the finals is Hedgie. Mate, how are you going today?
Really fantastic. Really excited to see some League of Legends again, and in WA this time. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
WA
we haven't really
specific.
True that. Well, I mean, we haven't really had the pleasure of watching these guys play too much, to be honest. We've been covering more of the Eastern states, not giving the West enough time to shine. What are you expecting to see from these players today?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. It's going to be exciting. Obviously, it's the final series and sister teams, so they're going to know each other really well. So I expect the draft phase to be a bit more, in depth, a bit more trying to counter specific champions on each team, as they'll probably know each other a bit more. Obviously, going to the same school.
Well, exactly, that's the case. A little bit of them being able to ban each other out is a bit rough to deal with, which means I'm hoping with that preparation, they have done a little bit of extra deeper champion pools. Now, speaking of which, I know you do coach a team. What's something that you'd like to say to them when it comes to getting a deeper champion pool? What's the best way for them to move into that?
Yeah, well, I think flex picks can be a really big tool that we like to use when I coach, and a lot of teams have been kind of amping up, and obviously like kind of the rise of flex picks in pro play and that sort of stuff with G2 in particular. Being able to change champions in what roles they can go, and have like champions like Kindred who can go multiple roles, like AD, jungle. I think that's a really powerful tool you can use. Obviously, like, can't expect every single team to have like all these flex picks, but I think a lot of the teams, particularly like in Summoner Society, where I coach a team, it's really important, and you see it a lot in terms of having like at least one flex pick that the team has, and a lot of the time that's the champion or the champions that the team will ban against them.
Well, we are jumping into champion select, so let's see if these guys do choose to focus on those flex picks, take a little bit of a leaf out of those professional players. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, we're trying to be competitive. You guys are playing for position to go up against the other states in the future as well. So a little bit is on the line, not just being able to win as the state finals, but also being advanced a little bit further. And first off the bat, they're getting rid of the monkey.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, as well as that, obviously flex picks are one thing, but you have to ban the comfort champions on other teams as well. Obviously, comfort picks a really important part of the game, and particularly like a lot of the comfort picks sometimes are picks that can just change the game. And Wukong is one of those champions where if he gets ahead, if he gets a big enough lead, he can just kind of dominate. So that one going to be taken away. Rengar kind of similar, where he has that one shot ability, has a lot of damage, able to really big threat. So you're going to see a lot of those champions that people specifically focus on. They're playing a lot in solo queue, they're really good at, and maybe taking them away as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rengar has actually been one of those staple picks throughout this tournament that we've seen the East really take advantage of. No surprise that the West have also decided to pick it up as well. Looking forward, Kassadin, another ban taken away. Looks like flexes don't seem to be, but mind you, we might see some flexes in the picks, but definitely when it comes to the bans, we're just trying to get rid of those big problem champions.
Yeah. Well, not right now. I'm not really seeing any flex picks, I guess, taken up. But definitely some like more powerful kind of carry champions already off the board. A lot of the solo lane is focused down. Obviously, the jungle, probably Rengar as well. But now Relia, and going along with that theme, Relia is actually a flex pick. So there you go. There's one at least. Can go mid and top lane, is very powerful in both roles currently. So not really too surprised to see her taken away. And boy, am I happy when she gets banned away in solo queue as well. A really strong champion.
Yeah, I think she's recently risen back up as well into that popularity with a few nerfs coming across to those top laners, so makes sense to take that one off the board. I just want to also just touch on the idea, technically Wukong is a little bit of a flex pick. We've seen the monkey go into the bot lane a couple of times in the past. Hasn't really happened for a long time, but who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe these guys are running insane strategies. That being said, Titan of the Depths, Nautilus being taken off the board as well. Very strong pick in that support role, typically.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so staple in the meta, right? And he's been like that for so long. It's not surprised to see him taken off the board, and as well, Cat, and probably a lot of comfort picks are taken away just from what the bans are. You're not going to see too many Katarinas popping around in the higher ends of play or just in general. So trying to take away specific picks from certain players as well. But coming to that first pick, they're actually going to have the Yasuo, so very aggressive to take the Yasuo on that first pick slot, but they've got him here.
Yeah, I mean, what would be the expected counter picks that you'd want from Yasuo there? Because that's typically what happens. You see Yasuo get picked a little bit later because he's, typically gets countered. But these guys know, hey, you know what? We're all about having that comfortability. Yasuo's on the board. How should there be a response here from P, MIS?
Yeah, well, probably just good disengaged champions. Obviously, Yasuo is pretty good at most stages of the game, so he is quite a formidable champion to verse. But when he does verse a lot of CC, like the Tarm and the Heck Room, he can struggle a bit, can struggle to kind of take them down and get onto the enemy Tom position. When he's versing a lot of squishy champions, kind of tends to have a good time. Fiora would be a really, really interesting counter pick into the Tarm. I think that would be a really, really strong pick. We haven't actually seen that one too much, particularly in the higher interplay as well. When Tarm is picked up, typically they're not really picking champions that I think counter him, but Fiora I think is definitely a strong pick into him, as well as Vladimir also able to scale up, able to get a free lane. Champions that kind of aren't going to be too threatened by the Tarm, but can also kind of get a 3-lane and scale, and Fiora and Vladimir fall right into that category. They're going to go with the Vladimir here. So they've already picked both their solo laners, which is interesting. I actually kind of expect them to go the jungle counter pick, as they have picked the Heck Room, but maybe lean towards the strong pick center in the bot lane, or another support in the Soraka. But yeah, they're going to go with the Soraka. So a lot of healing right now, so you're definitely going to be building anti-heal already with Soraka, Vladimir, and even Yasuo gets a lot of healing as well. So some very, very strong solo champions right now for the blue side, but Soraka as well going to be able to heal them up and keeps them sustained over those long fights.
Well, you can say that there's a lot of healing on the side here for DaBaby. Looking at P, MIS, now to go for the next pick. Orianna, a staple in the mid lane. One of the most, I guess you could say, what's looking at stable champions as well throughout this meta. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, he does have a good ball delivery system in that Heck Room.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, very, very good team fighting strengths already. You've got the Heck Room, you've got the Orianna, Tahm Kench, all good at team fighting, all good in engaging, all good at front to back. But as individual laners, that's what they'll have to see if they will struggle or not. Vladimir, not really going to destroy a Tahm Kench, but we'll get kind of a 3-lane, and then Yasuo is able to kind of get aggressive and try to get on that Orianna. And if he's able to punish her a bit in that laning phase, he will be able to get a bit of an advantage there. So they're more going for those like kind of split push, not even split push, but just like strong solo lane picks compared to a bit more of a together kind of team comp back to front, on the red side. So I have to say which one kind of gets favored as we get into the game, but mainly taking away those bot lane picks as Ziggs and Jinx both off the board.
Yeah, I was interesting to note that as well, because we did see the Orianna picked up. They thought, you know what, perhaps Neptune Beskell likes to play that Zig, so taking that away is definitely interesting in that sense. No real AD threat now available on the board here for P, MIS at the moment. So, of course, they're still continuing that trend of banning away the ADCs. We see Vayne now off the board, Jinx off the board, Draven finished now, really beginning to pinch away from what might be the choices here for them. What still will be the typical ADCs that are probably left on the board here that Neptune would want to pick up?
I think Varus would be really good here. Obviously, at the range, you can go different builds depending on what the last 2 picks of the enemy draft are. So I think he's very, very flexible. Obviously, you can also go the Dustplate build. Has the engage as well for the ultimate. They already goes well for their team fighting comp. Could be a beat seeing him picked up here, but they are actually just going to go the rel. Bides into the team fighting back to front comp they're going with the engage that she provides. If she does get on that Soraka's obviously not going to have a fun time here. A lot of CC into her. If they do manage to get onto her, it's going to be really, really dangerous. If they don't, Soraka can kind of out-kite them and out-fight them over time. But Zac potentially being picked up, very, very risky here, just because Heck Room does have that early presence. But if Zac can kind of outlast that early game, could be pretty threatening, and potentially a center hover as well here for Nemesis. Can he actually pick this one up? That would be pretty disgusting team composition, some really, really strong individual damage champions, and they are going to pick that one up. So Soraka center in the bot lane, we're having out Vladimir probably in the top lane, and Yasuo as well. So a lot of really strong damage champions and a lot of range as well with that center.
I'm continuing to look at DaBaby's team comp, and it just seems to be a lot of healing, the ability to sustain across the board. I mean, looking at Zac, Raka, Vladimir, obviously Senna, and then you look at Yasuo in those later stages of the game, we'll be able to build up a little bit of that self-sustain in the vamp. So probably, like you said, going back to what you were talking about before, Grievous Wounds, Ignite's probably going to be a massive advantage picked up by P, MIS. Kai'Sa will be rounding out the rest of the competition for a little bit of that mixed damage threat. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on here, but definitely some clear themes, like you said, that I do that front to back on one side for the P, MIS team versus DaBaby's sustain heavy focus. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this is actually quite interesting. Both drafts looking pretty good. I like both drafts a lot actually. There is just so much healing. I mean, every champion on the blue side on DaBaby does heal a lot, so they're definitely going to have to buy some early anti-heal. I do like the front to back. I think Kai'Sa is good in the context of the lane with the role. I think they have a very good 2v2 punch. If they're able to get ahead of this center Soraka, should be pretty powerful. If they don't, they might struggle a bit. And yeah, I think the scaling advantage definitely goes to the baby. They have the Vladimir, they have the Yasuo for the late game. Senna's incredible late game champion. They have the Soraka and the Zac as well, who are very strong. But yeah, it's a lot dependent as well on how P, IMS do engage, and if they actually are able to get onto some important members. So, for example, Soraka, I think, is a key target. Then if they blow her up, then the fight can probably go in their direction. If they don't, it's going to be a bit hard, I think, if they don't find those big engages, just because they kind of have the sustain with the Vlad. Yasuo, as we've talked about, the center as well.
Thank you very much, Edgy, for that one. I mean, it seems like it's going to be that idea of execution of both sides of these teams to really decide who's going to be the victor coming forward. We're going to be moving to a quick break, but before we do that, just a quick shout out to our sponsors. Big thanks to Torrens University, Optus, and MSI. If you're into gaming and esports, make sure to learn more about their game design, game programming, 3D design and animation, and graphics and communication design courses. So again, big thank you out to those sponsors there, guys. We'll be right back with this break as we get the players ready and all the things ready to jump onto the Summoner's Rift. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the HSE Meta State Finals. We're going to see what Rossmoyne Senior High School can do. They're both sister teams. Names are going to be DeBaby and P, MIS. So we do have a little bit of a cheeky little play here, a bit of a stack in the bush here, but we do see from DeBaby they're going to be spreading out for a line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it should be pretty safe to start. Both teams aren't actually too aggressive in the early game in what they're looking to do. Pretty safe champions. Pretty scaling in terms of what we've got, obviously, particularly on the blue side with DeBaby. They've got a lot of scaling champions, so not really looking to play too aggressive through the early game, particularly in Zach. Like, he's not really a early game, gank you early, attack you early jungler. So probably looking to farm up, probably looking to get to those dragon fights and fight over some objectives later in the game, I guess.
Too easy in that sense for both of these teams, but while we do have a little bit of downtime, also do want to talk about our PAX VIP experience competition. Our sponsor, Billy Blue College of Design at Torrens University, also has a great competition where you can win your PAX VIP experience for 2, an online session with a professional League of Legends player or streamer from Legacy Esports. All you have to do is fill out the online entry form here, and we will be posting that in chat. So if you want to have an opportunity to win that, please do check it out, fill it out, let everyone know what's happening, and really great opportunity considering what this competition can bring for not just these players but also you out there, the viewers, to see what is happening. But we're now roughly about 1 minute and 50 seconds in. Nothing too crazy is happening, and both these junglers will be starting on that bottom side of the map. Yeah,
it should be a pretty chill start. I think both junglers opting into the full clear already going. Hecarim going to that Gromp, taking that, as well as Zach starting up on those Krugs. Zach does have a very slow clear in what he's able to do. Obviously, the Krugs aren't the easiest camp to take early for any champion, but Zach will just struggle a bit to clear his jungle quite fast, and Hecarim will have a slight advantage, or a bit of advantage actually, just in the farm diff in general. But yeah, again, as we said, it's not going to be looking for too much. Probably both of these junglers will have to see when they actually look for those plays. Even those Scuttle Crabs may be the first point of contention if Hecarim looks to get a bit aggressive for them as well.
Well, as you can see here already, a bit of an advantage building up in the bot lane for DeBaby. Of course, those two ranged auto-attacking champions having a bit of an advantage, beginning to wear away at Pal and Neptune. And of course, this is expected. I mean, this is something they have to deal with. They're actually weathering the storm relatively well, but of course, this is giving some pressure here for DeBaby.
Yeah, and that's where you give up. Obviously, Rel has really good engage. He's really quick at what she can do. Able to go in really quickly and set up engages for a team, but you give that away, obviously, a bit in the lane where Soraka's able to whittle you down a bit and poke you out. So if you land that good engage, it's definitely worth it to pick the Rel. But if not, if you're not able to find those engages later in the game, then it can be a bit of a struggle. But yeah, just getting a bit of poke down right now. They're playing the lane quite safely and well. See both jungles pathing towards the top side. So if we're going to see any action, it'll probably likely be up here soon, and Hecarim heading straight towards that Scuttle Crab. Zach's just going to do his double clear on the Gromp and the blue, get his level 4, maybe even head for a recall after that, as well as Hecarim is going to have a camp advantage with this Scuttle, and probably look for the double Scuttle as well if he sees that as an opportunity here.
You can see we do have Sheep Deep there as well. The ward's going to reveal his position, and he's just going to happily just back right in front of him, put a little bit of pressure on his face and say, you know what, yeah, I'm here, deal with it. But of course, looking at that, Zach, ready for it, does jump in, lands onto the Orianna. Astros immediately go for some quick damage, forced to flash out. Good gank coming on through here from Osororu.
Yeah, that's good. He's going to be able to pick up the second Scuttle as well. Has the bot and mid prio now. That was a really good gank there. Was actually on the ward, so Orianna probably could have backed off just a bit earlier, but not able to get out in time, and does get hit with that E and a lot of damage. Yasuo obviously really good at following that up. Just able to dash through the minions, get a bunch of auto damage off. Really, really good work to set that one up, and they get Ori's flash, which is really, really nice, obviously, and probably sets them up with a better opportunity to actually take the first dragon as well. Just get a bit of control on the map.
Shifty backing away does obviously lose a little bit of that tempo pressure. As you can see, Zach's beginning to make their way towards those bottom side of the camps to try and catch up. And good damage here onto Pal. He's actually going down very low. Really a lot of work coming put into it, and this is actually a rough spot to be put into.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the poke, but not the actual death coming in. But Kaiser's almost going to go down. Does lose this entire wave as well. The CS count, they're actually farming the Soraka up, so obviously the center's soul hunting. Kaiser only down by 1 CS at this point, which is quite nice, but he's going to force Kaiser off a lot of XP. She's still level 3 here, so a bit of a worry there. And that bot lane Kaiser just struggling a bit to maintain her kind of presence in the lane here. But yeah, hopefully get back to lane and try to look for an engage with that Rel, try to look for a play eventually. Pushing up quite heavily, so if Hecarim does eventually look for a gank, it could be an opportunity. But no flash on Ori. They're going to look for it here.
Well, he's on a ward, already beginning to back away, and they can see that. And
yeah.
You can see immediately Quangmeister knowing immediately he has to back off, does do it. Gank isn't going to come through from Soro, knowing that the ward's going to be there, so we'll just pick that up at least for the time being. A reward has been placed by Quang at the same time as well, just to keep up a little bit of that security. I know, understanding that, hey, I don't have my flash, I've already used my TP, I need to make sure that I'm remaining careful throughout this entire stage.
Yeah, but you got to give props to Zach as well. Obviously, already burnt the flash, and he's doing a really good job to put the pressure on. The only real lane he can actually pressure in the early game. I mean, Senna, Soraka's just going to push in. Never really going to be able to dive with Zach, Senna, Soraka. It's not really a strong combo to dive and be aggressive with. Vladimir's getting pushed in, not really going to be able to a good gank spot there. They just don't really have the damage in the early game. So targeting the right lane, obviously identifying where he needs to target and what he needs to do, and doing a really good job at it in the early game. And yeah, just really good identification, putting pressure on this Ori, which is obviously down a bit of CS on the Yasuo because of it as well. Yeah, just getting that flashed away and just continuing to pile on the pressure.
One of the interesting things I do want to talk about with these junglers as well is the fact that there has been 2 backs here from Sheepty, whereas Asura has yet to back away, and I guess that's keeping up at least with the what's looking at the camp count up against this Hecarim, but of course Hecarim now will have a little bit of extra power when it comes in for those games.
Yeah, and that's where you talk about, you hear the word tempo used so much in pro play, right? And it is one of those things where, what do you actually do? Do you gank the Ori? Do you get a flash right? Do you get that advantage and use your tempo for that? Or do you use your tempo to get a recall, get items, get a bit stronger? So Zach's kind of used his tempo to get a bit of pressure on that Ori, has got a bit of a CS lead in that mid lane because of it. Now do we see if the Hecarim's able to make a play off getting a few recalls, getting those items? Will he be able to like solo a dragon or something? So always using your tempo for something, using your tempo to try to get an advantage in some way. And yeah, Hecarim elected to get the back, get some items, which is a pretty good choice. And Zach also a good choice to actually get that flash off Ori, go for a few extra ganks, and yeah, try to put some pressure on the map.
We'll back away as well. Finally, we'll pick up that Bambi Cinder as well, just to help out with that clear. And again, a little bit of extra strength in terms of that being said. Still in this bot lane, we can see that Quasadillo and Nemesis are being absolutely oppressive against Power Neptune. Yeah. This is the baby bot lane continuing to push them out. Of course, as you can see, it's still relatively decent for the CS when it comes across the board here. But of course, it being a famous enemy, there's still value that we just don't see at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think Hecarim probably needs to look just a bit more. They do have the engage options, and just as they scale up a bit more and a bit more, Senna and Soraka are going to be harder and harder to attack for this Hecarim. So I think another gank or so early, try to get that dragon, try to force some pressure bot lane should be a good thing, because kind of the game state being so slow right now the way it is, and just the lane's kind of evolving naturally as they do, definitely suits the blue side. Baby,
takes a lot of damage, just forced to heal in the back of it. Neptune jumps in as well just to block the rest of that damage coming through. That was dangerous for Pow, and as we can see, the baby continuing to find opportunities and force some little bit of extra damage when they see it, and that was scary.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really good poke there. Almost actually able to take the Kai'Sa down, forces out the heal, but Hecarim identifying the bot side control is in the favor of DaBaby, and will elect to start this Ref Herald up simultaneously. No, the baby. Yes, the baby are going to take the Infernal. So I'm getting confused with these names. Oh my god, same school.
Exactly. You can't say, well, Rossmoyne Senior High. It is Rossmoyne Senior High. Rossmoyne Senior High have taken the dragon and have taken the Rift Herald at the same time.
What a victory for the school! Incredible. But yeah, they are going to swap the Herald there for the dragon. So I actually have to say, a lot of the time I talk about the first Herald, it is a value play. So like, if you actually are able to get like a full tower and a lot of platings, maybe an actual kill on a dive or something from the Herald, I kind of deem it worth it against that first Drake. But if you don't, and you just don't get that advantage, or you're not really kind of crushing one wave, or one lane, or getting a big advantage in that lane, then I don't really think it's too worth it against that first Drake. So have to see if Hecarim can actually use that to a big advantage here.
Well, it's going to be up to as well. Of course, it being Infernal Drake does mean there will be some scaling coming across here as well. And there's a very high level of scaling on the side here for DaBaby as well. I mean, Zach. I mean, of course, you're looking at the Senna and as well as Soraka. A lot of that coming into it is champions that just excel in that late game stage. And this action has been relatively dull. There hasn't been any real pressure coming across here from P, MIS. As you can see, finally they've got a little bit of pressure on this bot lane here, but to be honest, when I've seen the way that Nemesis and Quasadillo have been playing, I feel like it's going to be short-lived.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, anti-heal items, by the way, talking about that in Champ Select, we've already had 3 come across the board for the 2 Bramble Vests and the Executioners on that Hecarim, so obviously buying into that and to heal very, very early to try to combat the Soraka, the center healing. Literally every champion on Baby heals a lot, so they have to really counter that early, and they're doing a good job to pick up those items. So good itemization there by PCOM at MIS. I'm gonna have to get quicker at saying that as the cast goes on. It's exciting, but yeah, are doing a good job here to pick up those items. But yeah, just a small gold lead right now for the Baby, just playing the game slowly as they should, and yeah, doing a really good job. I mean, you don't see a lot of teams who have that kind of patience and just kind of farm up, get to their item break points, and just look to go from there. So doing a really good job to do that.
Another thing I really want to point out here as well is that build path from Questadillo. It does seem to be looking towards that Triforce when I look at what's being built into position here. Is that something that we're expecting to see from the center here? Is that the current build of choice, or is it a little bit of a difference here from coming across here from Questadillo, showing us something outside that meta?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the game. Sometimes you go that real hyper carry route and you go the Kraken, right? So it's just kind of dependent on the game. I believe she's building into the Sundra, I think.
True.
Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure what she's building into, but yeah, we'll have to see. And yeah, I mean, you can go to kind of tankier option. You can go a bit more of that full frontal damage. Even some tank center builds have popped up in the past, so definitely kind of an option on what you can do, and kind of just experiment. Depends on the actual matchup here. She's into a lot of those tanks, so you could actually see the hyper carry build kind of be built for me, but then you have a Yasuo, so you already kind of have that. So probably going the Sundra, or kind of more a bruiser route, not really a tank route, just to kind of do that damage over time and still not die instantly to the burst.
One of the things I do want to highlight now, we're 12 minutes in as well, and a bit more pressure coming across from the bot lane here in the Baby, but items are starting to get completed. We have that Frostfire Gauntlet picked up here for Zach as well. The Hecarim, of course, has been able to jump around a little bit, but it's still sitting behind on those components. But, of course, Power Spike's coming across the board here. Things beginning to happen, what seems to be in that bot lane as well. Zach's caught out. They've jumped to the side here. Rel's going to miss the flash. We'll be able to save the Zach in the end here, but a nice pick up there from the center ultimate. We'll get that re-engage in. Here comes Zach again. It also has Astra coming as well. That's going to be the first bloody coming across from Astra as well. TP's following through on the back end as well. They're beginning to also look for a little bit disengaged, but they jump right back in again with the Yasuo ultimate. Nice use of the Onslaught of Shadows. We'll be able to disengage again and get a couple of these plays up. But Astro continuing to push on the side here. Tapu, who's falling very low, he will come across to the save in the end. We'll be locked on through here. Questadillo's looking in to chase a little bit more. We do have Astro jumping in again and gets the kill onto Power. Now on the tower, will probably sacrifice. No, will survive in the end as well. And that was one hell of a re-engage coming across it from the Baby. They thought they caught out the Zac, but it really was a trap.
Yeah, I feel like they could have just gone forward a bit more. They didn't really commit any flashes or any of their main engage to actually get onto him. They did have the original engage by the Rel, of course, and the Hecarim, but yeah, probably just kind of needed to commit some flashes or something to actually get on him. Then afterwards, kind of chasing him down when they didn't kind of get that first engage properly correct, and Zach just managing to flash away. Suddenly his team's there. Suddenly they can actually kite back into the Yasuo damage, and doing a really good job to re-engage well, get that damage down, and yeah, Senna and Soraka coming in. They just couldn't approach in that kind of chokehold with the Zach and the Yasuo in front doing all the damage. Senna and Soraka were just kind of free to heal up their allies, and yeah, they weren't really able to get onto that Soraka in that point, able to dive on. Orianna just not doing enough damage to burst through, and yeah, in the end, the front to back just kind of worked really well. Having that massive tank and the Zac out the front, doing a good job, and yeah, that original engage just wasn't as good as it needed to be in order to pick up that Zac. He's a really tanky champion, so if you're going to engage on him like that, you have to really burst him down quickly, otherwise it's just a no-go. So, able to find a really, really good turning fight, and potentially a dragon locked up here now. They don't actually have the center in lane, so bot pry is going to be established. Hecarim is down here as well, so this actually might be another fight, or a contest at least, over this mountain. They really, really don't want to give this up if you're MIS. Oh my god.
Well, I mean, when I look at everything that's been said and done here as well, a number of the members here from the Baby have managed to back. Zach hasn't yet, still sitting on 14,000 gold, trying to re-establish control of this Dragon Pit to make sure that Hecarim doesn't jump on it immediately. Another thing to note as well, the Shelly was wasted in that fight as well, dropped down, didn't really get a chance to do what it wanted to do. So a little bit of insult to injury here for P, MIS.
Yeah, and that's what you talk about. If you don't actually get the Herald, or get like significant value out of it, right, it's not really worth it. So obviously not getting really any value out of it. So suddenly that trade just looks really bad. Now they're 2 dragons up. Now obviously they've got the Ocean Soul on the way as well. That's a really big advantage. Adding to the healing they already have. Kind of the best soul they could get, maybe outside of Mountain here. So
checking advantages. It does drop the Human Plague very early, but of course it is going to be that 2-on-1. Here comes the center ultimate just to save Astro there in support as well, and he's going to send both Sheep Dynamite and Marika just to run off with their tail between their legs. damn, that is already a tanky Vladimir.
Yeah, and I mean, Vladimir's really ahead of the curve. Obviously, he's not that much up on CS, but just being even and a level up is like a huge advantage for him in this lane. So, doing a really, really solid job, and we didn't really talk about that much, but the time Kench did TP into that play, didn't really get any value, and the Vladimir stayed in lane, able to shove in waves into the turret, able to get a nice XP and level lead, able to get that CS on par as well. So doing a really, really good job to actually set that advantage up for himself, and now it's really, really hard to attack him, and even looking at that 2v1.
Jumping in though, they managed to get the tower down in the end. Sheep Dynamite in back in return as well, but as we can see now, it's going to be, we do have a teleport from Vladimir as well to assist, and that basically turns everything back around as well. Vladimir jumps straight into the middle of it, putting the damage on. That is massive chunks coming on through. Shake Me Daddy will push them away. Sheep Dynamite needs to run, will speed right on out of here, and every single time there seems to be some sort of proactive play coming across from P, Miss or MIS. There seems to be that return, that reactive play directly afterwards from DaBaby.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing's just the healing. Like, it doesn't even matter if you have the executioners. Every single fight, they just can't burst members down in this Soraka, this Senna, this Yasuo, this Zac as well. I mean, even the Vladimir as well in the top lane play, they just can't get onto him and do the damage to actually punish him. Hecarim actually looking for a bit of a pick on Yasuo, but they just can't do it. They just don't have the damage currently to burst through those members, and it's looking really, really bad when they actually go for those plays, when they actually look for proactive plays, which they should be doing on this comp with the engage they have. They just can't actually find them. The healing's a bit too strong, and didn't really look for anything in the early... Oh.
Look at that damage coming through from Quesadillo. Will force out Zorian ultimate, does push him back into the tower, goes too close to the stun, and they will find Quesadillo. And Nemesis, though, still holding the line here, just basically sitting there, does have both Zac and Yasuo waiting in the wings, trying to bait them onto the fight here. They don't have the vision, but they do realize that, hey, this seems a little bit too good to be true, and they won't jump onto Nemesis.
Yeah, doing a good job there to get that kill. Get a bit of an engage. There's the idea of the comp though. You have that quick engage. You have a lot of engage obviously across the comp, but get that burst on one target or multiple targets and burst them down quickly and kill them. So able to do that on the center there and get a kill, or their first kill of the game actually in this WA Grand Final. But yeah, able to really use their engage correctly. But yeah, there's what they haven't been able to do in the other fights. They've just really faced this hard healing team. And particularly that Soraka, I think, has been really instrumental in both of the bot lane fights, or the fight in the bot side river as well, and just kind of healing up her team and sustaining them over the fight. And it's just so hard for them to actually do much, and even this Vladimir as well, just by himself, being able to really heal. But game goes back to that bit of that slow state now, build up to a 3k gold lead for DaBaby, and they're just doing really well to just deny plays away from
P, MIS. Look, you know, I'll take it from here, Hedgie. You don't have to worry about that. Because you know what? It is, you know, three gold there. Does actually push them across, as you can see. Nice play of that. Never mind up on the top side as well. Will force the flash out of Zangmeister as well, who will use the ultimate. Astro still locked down, and the damage is there. Manages to completely delete this Orianna. In the meantime, Shake Me Daddy still does survive as well at the end, with Nemesis there in tow for that little bit of protection. As you can tell, just a lot of action across the map here as well, but we do seem to have what seems to be a three-way push coming from Maruko. We'll use that ultimate as well. Sheep Dynamite is here. We'll push them well and truly back with Neptune Bow, Neptune Gale in tow as well. As we can see with the center ultimate just protects them, but there is going to be enough to pull them out. But here comes Yasuo as well, teleports into the middle of the fight, but of course now it's going to still be a 3-on-1. That is, they're trying to focus down this Tom Kench, but he's just too tanky, and it looks like they will be able to get away. But he jumps back in again, forces them into the fight, and Quesadillo here is now ready to party as well. And there seems to be good reactions once again coming across. We do have the Rocket Belt being used by the Vladimir to continue pushing. Nastro wants to go a little bit deeper, will go underneath that tower, will get the knock up, and Neptune Girl will be removed from the map as well. In the meantime, we also have Shelly being popped in that mid lane. So much happening around the map. It was once again initiated by P, MIS, but when I look at everything that happened, it seems to be once again DaBaby coming out on top.
Yeah, well, DaBaby really wants to look for those long fights, right, over sustained time where that healing really comes in. And that's what they're getting every single time. They're just not having that kind of quick engage on them, losing a member quickly, and then kind of evolving that into a quick fight where they lose. They're just fighting these fights over kind of 30 seconds, really, a lot of these fights going over really long periods of time, and just not really able to do anything. And what they can actually do. Zac is going to flash, though. Yeah,
he did flash. Also, I was a little bit interested by it. Just decides to get rid of it in the end, and says, you know what, I don't need this flash, I've got a slingshot, which is just as good regardless, and they will be able to pick up their third dragon for their troubles. But looking at the game now, hit that 20-minute mark. Currently going to be roughly a 5k gold lead here as the advantage for DaBaby. They're going to force Neptune Girl back, doesn't want anything of this. Astro is continuing to jump through, will miss the tornado in the end, but when I look at everything across the board here, we finally do have those power spikes starting to come across for P, MIS. We've got the Gale Force Bow, we've got that Luden's Tempest as well, the Divine Sundra for Hecarim, the Frostfire Gauntlet coming across here for Time Kench. But on the flip side, they've been holding on to those first real power spikes already, as you can tell. I mean, looking at those mythics already completed, and then as you can see, Astro has been caught out here. He's looking to fight them, and TP will come across as well. We'll use the flash to dip right on out. There is the chase through from the Kai'Sa, but Astro jumps in, immediately healed up. Look at that damage. Astro is well and truly in fight here. Wants to jump onto Neptune Girl, will begin to do that damage well. That will be locked up, stunned away, finished as well. Double kill come across here for Quasadillo in the end. Astro beginning to just herd Powell and the rest of this bot lane away. Osiris jumped well and truly under the towers, just going to get a couple of those tickles there in the end, and now you can see continue to push up. Tom Kench is going to jump onto Astro here. Will be favoring the opportunity. Look at the fight. Will actually come across. Has enough to be able to eat him as well at this moment in time. He's going to do it just yet, but as you can tell, Astro says, you know what? I can't kill you, but I can definitely kill Powell. Will begin to jump away. The heals coming across. That Moonsa Renew just doing so much. And even though they thought they could take him out, Astro, with support from the rest of the team, will be able to clean up. And Powell now is on the chase. Or not on the chase, is actually on the run, trying to get away from the rest of the team. As you can see, he's going to go the long route. Will actually be picked up here by this ward as well. He's going to be backing on it. Oh no. Shank Me Daddy's actually going to continue the chase here. Is going to use that Q to try and run away, but even though he's on a bit of a run here, Shoot Me Dynamite as well seems to be chasing the Zac as well for the time being, looking for the fight once again. Will force out the ultimate from Zac, but it has a relatively high cooldown now, or high cooldown reduction to just use that for the next team fight and just continue to clear that jungle away.
Fight's actually going to get away, but yeah, I mean, in respect to these fights, every time Soraka's there, I just feel like the fight's over. She's just doing too much healing. They just can't manage to get those members down, and if they even burst her down, then the healing of the other champions comes through, and they just have so much damage right now. This gold advantage as well, better up to 8k, 3 Drakes as well, and an Ocean Soul, as we talked about earlier, obviously really, really important. So really, really looking like they're in struggle town here on the side of P, MIS. I keep saying I before M, no idea why.
MSI?
Yeah, there you go. That's probably why. All right.
Probably why. Well, they are our sponsors as well, so a little bit of extra fun there through on the side. Shank Me Daddy seems to be just chilling out on the top side. You know, I'm just gonna call him Shank. He's gonna be Shank from now on. I'm not sure how I feel about the rest of the name. That being said, though, they seem to have a little bit of a dev push set up here as well, just to see if they can catch someone out. Looks like they're going to be jumping onto Nemesis. They're going to be able to pull him away as well. Looks like that might be enough. Nice flash to get him out. They're on the chase. Powell will be able to finish the kill off there. And it looks like they were a little bit too careful when it comes to that push. Actually, not careful enough. No caution coming through from Nemesis. I mean, when you've been winning for 23 minutes straight, you do find the opportunity just to walk in there a little bit to it, and it seems that they will get something back and at least delay what might be a Baron take coming across from DaBaby.
I mean, if they're able to do that every time, it would be great. Do you manage to find that face-checking Soraka just walking a bit too far there and gets caught and killed very quickly. And that's what they want to do. If they can burst down that Soraka quickly, the other members become a lot easier to kill. So they can find that kind of pick every time, which is a bit hard to ask for, but if they are able to do that, then that's their kind of avenue back in the game. So recognizing that, getting a really good pick there to actually force that play, but they're still looking for stuff, I think, which is really good. They're being proactive, they're trying to find plays, they're trying to find picks, trying to use their range of CC abilities to get those picks as well. So then to continue trying to force those plays, trying to get onto the Soraka in particular, and if they're managing to do that, then they can actually kind of turn on the other members and take them down one by one.
Well, looking at everything here as well, we do have that Dragon, which is going to be sole point for DaBaby up in that next minute. We can see all the towers still available for DaBaby as well, so it's a lot of standing gold that's just not available at the moment for P, MIS. And as you can see, they're trying to do their due diligence, keep that top side or top blue side warded of their jungle, but as you can see already, you do have DaBaby coming in, cleaning up, making sure they can control this Dragon, which of course is going to be huge, not just for their team composition, but just in terms of that synergy coming across. Shank Me Daddy though, or Shank, has been picked up here and found here. It seems to be a 4-member jump onto him as well. Nice damage will come through from the Hero Plague. There we can see Nemesis will be enough to heal up, keep him alive. He's coming in for the re-engage. Here comes Zac as well to say, you know what, I'm going to be joining in this party. And a lot of resources used by P, MIS, and they're not going to be able to find anything in return.
Yeah, and that's why if you're going to have to look for a pick, you can't really look at it on the Vladimir or on the Zach or even on the Yasuo. You have to look at it on the Soraka, because she's the only person that now doesn't have flash, really, really immobile, really, really easy to catch out. But if you're going on that Vladimir, he's got his flash available, he's got his W, he's got Zonya's, he's got tons and tons of healing. He is so hard to get down and actually one-shot or catch out, even if they're using all their abilities on him like that. So I'm going to start up this Ocean Drake, going to be burst down before they can actually even get there, and that Ocean Source is going to be handed over to them. If absolutely free, it's Baby looking very, very strong in this game now with that Ocean Soul picked up, and they can really honestly just force a Baron at this point. They have 5 structures, they have a 9k gold lead, they have the items that they need to actually be able to take that down quite easily. So in a really, really good, strong spot here, and you're really looking for a Miracle Engage. You're looking for a pick on the Soraka into a Miracle team fight here for P, MIS. Yeah, I did it! I said it right!
You did it! Woo! A little bit of a celebration here for the commentators. At the same time, guys, we do see a 1-3-1 coming across from the Baby. Like you said, have the ability to really force out the Baron objective next if they want to. And you can see they're really beginning to do the due diligence, push out the lanes, get their big buffs, get everything in position. I'm beginning to look now. We do have the next set of items beginning to finish up and come into play. We have that Infinity Edge picked up from Astro. We, of course, have that Frostfire. Got another Frostfire. The Spirit Visage now finished for the Zac. Void Staff completed for a while for Shank. At the same time, the Ginsus for Quasadillo, and of course that Magi Soul Stealer. The Magi Soul Stealer for Nemesis. Wow, that is some confidence.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously just going to start this Baron straight away, and they do it quite quickly actually with the Yasuo. They've got Vladimir and Senna for damage as well, so going to be taking this down relatively quickly, going into 4k. Can Hecarim actually look for a Miracle Steal? Not sure if he actually knows they're on a dozen, and it's going to be burst down very quickly, and that could well spell the end in this first game, at least, for P, MIS as well. They're going to be able to push down this mid lane, probably just as a 5-man, try to break this inhibitor first of all, and then look for maybe some other structures or a team fight.
Well, Astro is beginning to make his way towards that bottom side as well. We can see Maruko's looking in to get in from behind. Will jump into the middle of it. There is also going to be the ult.
Very good ult!
That is some pretty good stuff here coming from Pico Mario. They will be able to shut down Quasadillo immediately. The TP's coming through from as well. A lot of damage coming across at the very end here. It seems at the end of it, when it's all said and done, after the blender, the massacre of abilities being used by a number of members, it was good coming across from P, MIS, but it was not enough in the end. Like, gold lead just too much if the Baby, and they will win that team fight decisively at the very end here, beginning to close everything out. And now they've got an open inhibitor across the end here. They've got the minions as well. Astro's taking a few tower shots there. Wow, what an ultimate coming across there, but still weren't able to find the finish.
I mean, you know what? If the gold lead is even, or even like it's 1 or 2k in the advantage of the Baby, they probably get smashed in that team fight. What a brilliant engage overall. But in the end, they will actually find the win. Really good safe play, really good kind of denying. Maybe they don't end because the Okay, I might have spoken too soon here, Metrics.
No, they seem to be doing it. I mean, they're fighting. Oh, here we go. Coming across to the side here. They're going to jump onto Astro. Astro is going to have none of it. He's going to continue to auto-attack down that Nexus. And, of course, it will be the Baby taking this first match up here in the HSE Meta State Finals. Pretty happy across the board there. You could see the composition that P, MIS was trying to put together. You could see how it would work if that gold lead just wasn't so insurmountable. The Baby just able to slow that game down, play completely at their pace. Hedgie, break it down for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really solid performance, and when the game slows down into a scaling comp like this, it's just really hard to play the game if you're not able to get those like kind of massive early game advantages on a comp like this. Obviously, they have really strong engage, but if you're not really using that, if you're not really getting the early ganks, then this Yasuo is going to get a free laning phase. The Vladimir got a free laning phase. The Senna Soraka really got a free laning phase as well. And once you get to those kind of skirmishes, even at kind of 10-15 minutes, if it's at all favored towards the Baby, they're just going to be able to bring it out. And obviously that first one, after that, it kind of just seemed over. They kind of just seemed like every fight after that was really hard for them to play. They couldn't get onto the Soraka easily enough. She was just doing heaps of healing, even if she did die. And overall, they just had a bit too much sustain. And even when they landed an absolute miracle, amazing engage like that at the end, they're just not really able to take it out. So a good effort, at least, by P,
MIS.
What have I done? I can't say it. But yeah.
It's all good, Hedgie.
They are doing their best, but yeah, just not able to take that one out in the end, I guess.
Exactly. Well, that being said, P, MIS, they may be down, but they are not out of it just yet. Will they be able to come back in the next game against the Baby, or will the Baby be able to finish this one out? We'll be going to a quick break while we set the players up. Please do not go anywhere.